Greetings, all divine greetings, everyone. As Sacred always likes to say, generations upon generations upon generations upon generations of wealth to you
Yeah,
and yours. May you be in good health and spirits. May you be in the purple, in your magic, in your intuition, in your
yeah,
imagination, and in your royalty.
yeah.
Today we are
Absolutely.
gathered together for the goddess awakening, the call, the
The
prophecy,
prophecy,
the
the
call,
calling,
and
and the
the vision
awakening.
and the awakening.
Well, I'm
So,
sorry. You know what? I did get it mixed up. It's early. It is the prophecy, and then there's the call, and then there's the vision.
yes,
These are all the things that we're going to be talking about.
yes, within this series, I am sacred and
I
um
am, I
joining,
am goddess.
yes, goddess,
Mhm.
great mother. I appreciate you so much for us gathering together to have this time to speak about this great prophecy, this great call, this great vision to bring about the full awakening, the full embodiment of the goddess. And
Yeah,
Goddess has been a part of pioneering the Goddess for at least 2 decades now, I would say.
yeah,
Receiving the prophecy, I believe you said 3 decades ago, right?
yeah. It's been a long journey.
Yes. And, originally, and I'll let Goddess speak more about it, but she's been, to awaken the goddess, one of the tools was garments. It was
Hmm.
placing women in their goddess attire so that they could feel the goddess within them and really feel for the first time through these beautiful fabrics that she has created and walk like a goddess and be that goddess. But
Yeah,
now what she noticed is after the clothes came off, all of that came off with them. People weren't tuning in and tapping in, and that goddess wasn't remaining awakened. So now goddess is here to really share that prophecy in this series so that now it can be the full embodiment of that vision that she has
yeah,
been pioneering for all of these years.
yeah,
And I
yeah.
appreciate you being on the front lines,
Yeah.
seeing us truly, everything that you experienced in your life. And so I'm looking forward to this series
Mm.
because Goddess has so much great, richness to share with all of us. She is our elder, and we lift her up, we lift her voice up so that she can take
Mhm.
her full place in guiding us forward.
Well,
All right.
thank you. I thank you for the opportunity of sharing, what God has given me to share. I consider myself a messenger. The vision for the goddess was given to me years ago when I began my own search and understanding the visions that were coming to me since I was 4 years old of women that walked as if they were floating, women that illuminated light.
Mhm.
And in this vision, I don't even want to say it was a vision because it was almost like I was transported to another dimension. The first encounter, I was 4 years old and I'm watching cartoons, and all of a sudden I'm in this temple, and these women are walking toward me. It's like five women, and they're walking as if they're floating, and they're wearing these garments, hoods and head wraps, and just flowing layered garments, and their skin is like translucent and they're illuminated. They look like light beings. And when they get a few feet in front of me, they just stop and they stare at me as if they're talking to me with their eyes. And then they shoot a beam of white light from their eyes into mine. And I feel this overwhelming feeling of love. And I close my eyes to immerse myself in the feeling. And when I open them, I'm back at home.
Mm,
In this uh, world that I was experiencing with my parents, being an empath, I didn't feel the energy of love. And I remember in a past life or another planet, another time, I had a memory of being enveloped in love, of being someplace where there was love. And so I remember when I had the first memory, when I came out of it, I said to God, why did you bring me here? Meaning earth, these people are not loving. I
mm,
want to go home. I want to go home with the women's eyes are filled with love.
mm,
So, child, whenever my mother had company and she told the kids to go in the room, I would crawl on the floor and hide under a table to see if the guests that she was entertaining, if they had the eyes of love. Because I thought, well, maybe the women missed the mention. Maybe they're here, and I just have to find them. And
mm,
so these continued until I was in my 30s, about 35. They would happen randomly, and they were always the same. They would never deviate. It never changed. It was always the same scenario. Well, in my 20s, I started. My sister went to fashion designing school, and I wanted to learn to sew. And what I started thinking is maybe if I make the clothes, maybe the women will come, here. Maybe I can find them, and maybe I could put the clothes on the woman, and they would remember because maybe we forgot.
mm,
Maybe we were women with the eyes of love that illuminated light. And so when I did put the clothes on the women, when I began to do that, they began to talk about how they felt in the garment. But
mm,
as you mentioned, when they took off the garment, that feeling was gone, and I needed to understand why was I making these garments, and you know what what was the whole vision and purpose of the garments. And I think when I was in my early 30s, I began to question God. And God began to speak to me about the prophecy of the goddess and why I was making the garments.
mm,
Uh, the Spirit said that in the day of revelations, the world as we know it will come to an end. But in the womb of the goddess, the seed and the vision for the new world has been implanted. She will awaken and she will emerge and she will give birth to a new world. She will travel across many nations and she will teach and give birth to a new creation of sons and of daughters who will know love and who will know God. She is the truth and she is the light and she is the second coming of Christ.
mm.
And
That's,
so that was one of the first writings that came to me. And a lot of times I would be asleep and I would hear this voice talking to me about what this was all about.
mm,
Um, and the second one came was to be a goddess is not a religion. It is a state of being. It is a movement and it is awakening of the spirit of Christ in the
mm,
hearts and minds of women. It is women in touch with their creative and spiritual gifts, empowered with a vision to use those gifts to co-create with God a new world. To be a goddess is to always and in all things remember love.
mm,
Parentheses. God.
mm,
This is the great resurrection of of the goddess. The goddess existed years ago, which was actually the witch burnings. The
mm,
goddesses then, there were temples built all over the world, and these women were their job was to maintain the spiritual integrity on the planet. They were the connection between heaven and earth. So and so they brought medicine. They were medicine women, and their job was to remind humanity of the moral compass or the principles of God. And when men went off to war and they uh, fought for days and they came back, they couldn't go into their families because they've been killing every day. And so their spirits were in a very destructive space. And so the goddess was the balance, and whatever they captured from that other land that they um, had won the war in, they would bring the fabrics, the perfumes, and lay them at the goddess' feet as payment for her to pray over them, bathe them in oils and herbs, and bring them back to their humanity, you know, to bring them back into a more gentle spirit so they could go home and be with their families without the stench of war and killing that spirit on them.
Mm.
And
Wow.
so, humanity, or I should say, men wanted to destroy the goddess because they wanted her power. They wanted her. They didn't like the fact that she, stood as the in between. She had a lot of power in society. So I remember being that before
Mm,
in another time. I
mm,
remember the men coming to me because I was the high priestess of the temple at that time, and had my confidants, the women that I consulted with making decisions. And so we had a new regime that was taking over the land, and they came to me and they said that the people in charge wanted to see me, wanted to talk to me,
mm,
uh, and they wanted me to work with them on what their agenda was, which wasn't a positive one, and I refused to. And so when I got back to the temple, it was destroyed and the women were dying. And I remember telling the women who were, you know, there, and the ones that weren't quite dead, that I would come back and we would rise again and we would begin to teach the way of God to humanity, and that we would nurture humanity during this dark time. So this is what is happening. It has taken me what almost probably 30 years to begin to see women awakening. I meet women and they tell me they're a goddess, and I said, "Where did you get that from?" And they said, "From my meditation. It came to me, and I'm here to be a vessel of light. I'm here to be a vessel of love." And so my mission is to, with the garments, is to uh, put the women in the garments, to photograph them, and to do shows and videos as a way to document this time in history, as a way to celebrate this great awakening of women who are being called in their spirit to become a vessel in which the spirit of light and love and peace can flow through, messengers of the Creator, the divine mother within is rising within women.
yes, absolutely. I muted my mic because my little one wants to get to her mother. And
What's
I
that?
guess it's huh?
Say
What you
that again.
I said I muted my mic because my baby, my little girl, she wants to get to
Oh,
her mother. Um,
okay.
and so but it's symbolic of how we've been crying out to the great mother, like babies. Like, Mama,
Yeah.
where you at? I need you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? We've been crying for her, longing for her. Um, please come and be with us,
Yeah.
because at this time, and I'm so thankful to you for making that commitment to return and be a part of the activation and the awakening. So, for anyone that doesn't know what that means, I will translate it this way. We're not going anywhere no matter what the news says because Goddess already made the commitment in a past lifetime to make sure that we were in our fullness. And until we reach that part where we're completely in our goddess form, you best be believe life has to continue to get better and better and better because we
Yeah.
are awakening each and every day by name.
Yeah.
More people are awakening to now everyone's wearing copper and you know what I'm saying? Like there's
Yeah.
so many things that are happening that is just intuitive. I just woke up one day
Yeah.
and I could not stop wearing flowers in my hair.
Yeah. Yes, and it's an awakening that's happening from the inside out. People says,
Mhm.
"Who are your leaders?" And it's like the goddess within is waking up, and women are remembering who they are.
Yes. Yes.
And it's powerful to see, you know.
Mhm.
Hmm.
That and that prophecy, but and also, a couple weeks ago we had a talk because with the goddess awakening, there's been this murkiness, right? And I know that um as an elder, you were feeling the collective energy from so many of us that were feeling this deep, like hurt and pain, almost like this, almost what people would consider a dark night of the soul that's been happening for the past few months with all of the astrological
Hmm.
shifts. But we've been seeing how this awakening has been impacting relationships, families,
Yeah.
and so it's been looking a little bleak, and feeling a bit heavy. And so I wanted you to really talk about that too, because with that prophecy and with this awakening, and that's kind of what really inspired us to begin this series and this talk, because I was speaking with Goddess and she was feeling us to the point where she's like, I have to detox because empathically, she's feeling the collective of the goddesses and our pain and what we've been experiencing these past few months. And I just wanted you to speak a little bit about that.
Well, the thing is that before we came into these bodies, we had a conversation with God, and in that conversation, our stories were created. In other words, the journey that we would go on earth to evolve and become our goddess self. And there were souls that agreed to be a part of that story, to be a part of that journey with us. And so we attract these people into our lives. We're attracted to them, and then we have this experience. And the purpose of the experience is to show us the areas where we need to grow. And so these are our life lessons. The people that we're in relationship to, they are not doing anything wrong. What they're doing is just showing us where they're at in their journey. Because a person can only give you what they have to offer in that moment, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. And when we demonize that person and make them wrong, it creates separation and it creates judgment on our part. And sometimes self condemnation and guilt because we get mad at ourselves. Why did I, get in this relationship with him? Instead of saying, okay, God, what was that relationship created to teach me so
Mm,
that we can evolve?
mm,
And because the journey is divine. And the only reason why we're upset is because we had an expectation
mm,
of what we thought that
mm,
our journey should look like. So we need to be in the mystery of it all and let the journey unfold and learn what we came to learn so that we can elevate. When you look at the story of Christ, in the end, he forgave and then he rose. And
mm,
that's what happened to us. When we forgive, God forgive them because they know not what they do. They were
Mm,
being all they knew to be. This is earth school. You hear people say that it is a school.
mm,
You know, we are to become the lotus evolving out of the swamp. And
mm,
we here to learn and become that lotus that evolves, pure and beautiful and loving, because it's a journey and we're just living out the story and evolving through the story.
mm.
So
Yeah.
that's and only then can you have peace in your heart
Hmm.
because you weren't wronged. It's just what happened. And some of it is painful because we want something different. We want what we want.
Hmm. Hmm. Which, isn't excusing behaviors, but it's getting us to be unstuck. Because when we're looking for justice, first, Mayat's justice symbol is the heart
Mm-hmm.
with the feather. So
Mm-hmm.
no matter what, our hearts have to be made light. And what that process looks like for us to get there, into that lightness is really the giving up of the weight and the heaviness of the emotions of what these things were doing. Because, as you place, Goddess, they've been, I used to say a lot, I said, it came to me one day. What has it taken to wake you up in your goddess form? What has it taken you to shake you to the point, rattle you to the point where this goddess is like, I'm not shrinking, I'm not backing down, I'm gonna shine, I'm not people pleasing anymore because I hold the prophecy within me. I
Mm-hmm.
am the guide. I am the trailblazer. I'm the one that the world's been waiting to show up.
Mm-hmm.
However, these relationships have been that jolt of like, wake up or die.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Wake up or die in a war that you were never meant to be a part of. And so, in order for us to maintain that lightness, as Goddess is saying, we do have to recognize that. And that's been challenging even for me because
Mm-hmm.
because we do
Well,
have these expectations of, as she's awakening, where's, our sacred masculine right there, and these ideas that we have, which are all truth. However, to get there, you're giving us that roadmap.
we're creators, and so we have to see the journey. We have to overstand the journey. In other words, step out of our humanness and see it from the spirit, because from the spirit we can create within the story, because
Mm,
we're more objective. We can see it. We are not our stories. Our stories are just that. They're our stories. And nobody's doing anything, I would say, wrong, because they're doing what the story
mm,
was required for
mm,
us to evolve. We're the diamonds, under pressure, created through the pressures of life.
mm,
Um, I was in pain for a long time because we have this utopian ideal of what life should be. Well, this should go like this should go like that. And so when it doesn't, then we're angry and we're mad and we're hurt and everything. And so I was angry for a long time. And what happens is that when you become angry, that energy stores itself in your body. It stores itself in your emotional, what they call your emotional body. We have a mental body, we have the physical body, we have the spiritual body, we have the emotional body. And that energy that's trapped inside your body, it affects your life. It affects all other relationships. Um, but when you uh, transmute that energy into light, into love, and how you do that is you look at it in the spirit. I had to go through a year process of just sitting in the floor and meditating every day because I was tired of carrying all of the disappointment and hurt and pain of my life. And I said to God, why am I here and why is this happening? And then I began to see. And that's one reason why I think I have a crystal. I used to just wear that in my third eye because I choose to see everything in my spirit through a spiritual lens and not through a physical lens, through my human lens. That's what I mean. So we need to just see it from the spirit and identify ourselves as spirit beings. And we're creating the image and likeness of God, and we're co-creators with God. And these experiences are shaping and molding us. So we don't want to get stuck in the story. We
Mm,
want to transcend, you know, get
mm.
stuck in the hurt and pain of this shouldn't have happened and I'm mad and he wrong and this and that. No, observe him. And if there's something you need to tell him to help him on his journey, to help him to grow, then that's what you do if so instructed, because we're students and teachers to each other.
Oh, I love
But
it.
you said it in love. I love you and I thank you for, our experience because I learned so much about myself. You
Mm,
know, I had a relationship, a narcissistic relationship, right?
mm.
And I'm thankful to that man because I learned to set boundaries. I learned that I hadn't mastered setting boundaries. And that was what I needed to take me to the next level.
Oh my goodness. So really seeing through that first eye, you know, seeing through the first eye first before you look through these natural eyes. Because that's the eye that was formed in mama's womb before the eyes even came in. you know. And so I love it, to see through that spiritual eye. And narcissism has been a big word within the community. So I look forward to us even diving deeper into this. We have about 2 minutes left, um, and goddess just being that creator, recognizing that as goddess we create, and so the more time we're spending in that story is more of a distraction and a disturbance to creating the reality that everyone is depending upon us to bring here, that utopia.
Yes, yes,
Hmm.
absolutely. Yes.
Yes.
So, this is another writing that Spirit gave me. It says, a goddess is a woman who embodies the spirit of love. She walks in divine faith and she lives in the peace and love of God. Her heart's desire is just to do the will of God and to be an instrument of divine love. Rise, goddess, rise.
The goddess awakening, the prophecy, mm, the prophecy, the vision, and the awakening.
Yes.
We will see you all in the next episode very shortly here. Be
Yeah.
prepared to see us a lot during this time. Peace and bliss.
Thank you, Sacred, for having me. Peace.
And thank you
Keep
for
rising. You're welcome.
love you. We'll see you next week.
Love you. Bye.